What up, everyone? I'm Jamie. I'm going to be doing my second mock draft, this time on camera, but we're going to be going over to the screen and basically going over my picks for mock draft 2.0 before the combine, so pre-combine edition. There's going to be no trades in this mock draft. I'm going to be doing trades later once we start approaching the actual NFL draft. It's going to be a one-round mock draft, just kind of it was last time, and I just want to get it out before the pre-combine stuff happens, because a lot of different things will happen. People will show out during the combine. Some people will struggle. Some people may fail tests. Things happen. The board changes a lot after the combine, so I wanted to get a mock draft out before we start going. So let's get over to the screen and let's get started with the mock draft. All right, so here we are with the mock draft machine. I've been doing all my mock drafts on this just because it's easy. It's already formatted. It's awesome. I love it. So shout out to thedraftnetwork.com. Thanks so much for making this for all of us to go and do mock drafts on. And with that said, let's get into the mock draft. So we got the Bengals on the clock. I don't think it should be fucked around with here. Joe Burrow's going to be the pick. I mean, you know that a lot of people are saying that like he doesn't want to play for the Bengals, but at the end of the day, they're going to draft him. He's going to be the best fit for them. He's the best quarterback for them. They could take Tua, but let's not speculate too much. Joe Burrow had a historical year. When you throw for 60 touchdowns in the SEC and 6 interceptions and 5,700 yards, and you break all these records, you got to be the guy. You got to be the guy. Someone's going to lose their job if he's not the pick. And if he does pull an Eli Manning or a John Elway, then so be it. But you got to take Joe Burrow while he's there. So now we got the Redskins on the clock, and it's a pretty easy thing to take Chase Young here. They let go of Josh Norman, and Quinton Dunbar wants a trade. And so I really like Jeff Okudah. He's my number 3 player on my big board. But Chase Young will be the pick here. Ron Rivera has already come out and said how much he likes Chase Young and how much of a difference maker he is. Although they're exploring all their options to see if they fall in love with Tua Tagovailoa or Joe Burrow. They're meeting with a lot of top picks just because they do the due diligence on everybody. See if there's something, red flag that comes up with Chase Young. But to me, Chase Young's the number 1 prospect in this whole draft. And when you got a guy like that at this position that just falls to you, who should be the number 1 pick in the draft, you got to take him. You got to take Chase Young and just hand in your card and go with it. So Chase Young is the pick here. So now we got the Lions, and as I said in the last draft, this is where the draft starts. Last time I had them going Isaiah Simmons, just because Isaiah Simmons is a really good fit for them. To me, he's one of my favorite players in this whole draft. But with all this talk about Darius Slay getting traded, who are they going to have a cornerback? They're going to have nobody. They're going to have Justin Coleman. And that's it. As I said, last time they traded Quandre Diggs away to the Seahawks. That really suffered them. And so they could use a guy like Isaiah Simmons back there, but who can also play linebacker, who should probably just realistically play linebacker, and how good he could be if he just focused on one position. But they're going to take Jeff Okudah here. Jeff Okudah is a lockdown corner. If they're going to lose Darius Slay to a trade, then they need to get a younger guy who is probably going to be better than Darius Slay. But Jeff Okudah is one of the cleanest prospects at the cornerback position in a very long time. As I said, I think he's like a cleaner version of Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey has all that off-the-field shit going on, like just like big diva, while Jeff Okudah just plays ball. I really like that about him. And so when you got a guy like Jeff Okudah and like a big need like that with Darius Slay moving on, you're gonna take him. So the Detroit Lions would select Jeff Okudah number 3. So now we got the Giants. They can go on They can go a lot of ways. I like them taking an offensive tackle here. When you invest the 2nd overall pick in Saquon Barkley and the number 6 overall pick in back-to-back drafts in Daniel Jones, you need some line. That's like a big thing. Like you got a guy like Jedrick Wills on the board who can play right tackle immediately. Mike Remmers is garbage. He got beat like a drum in the Super Bowl when the Carolina Panthers lost to the Broncos. Von Miller kicked the shit out of him. And so they really need a young stud on that offensive line. And Jedrick Wills is going to be an unbelievable athlete at the combine. He's going to be so good. And so to get a guy like that and put him on the right side immediately and eventually swing him over to the left side when you can cut basis with Nate Solder, because he has a huge contract. They can't get rid of him unless they trade him to the Browns or something like that, which could happen. But You know what I'm saying? So, like, get a guy like Jedrick Wills to come in, be a stud on the offensive line. I mean, they could go Isaiah Simmons as Alec Ogletree's not coming back. They could go CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, because they always could use receiver. But as I said, they got Sterling Shepard, one of the best slots. They got Golden Tate there. They got Darius Slayton. I mean, they got all their guys. Like, I mean, they're probably going to take a receiver eventually, but, like, they take Jedrick Wills, open up some lanes for Saquon, protect Daniel Jones. Like, do yourself a favor and just put him in there. All right, so now the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are going to move up to grab Tua Tagovailoa. Like, in the actual draft, they're going to switch with the Lions. I made a video about the teams that I think are going to move up and stuff like that in my last video. But let's not spend too much time on this. Tua Tagovailoa is going to be a Miami Dolphin because he makes a lot of sense there. Tua is an unbelievable quarterback when he's healthy. Even though he hasn't been healthy the last couple seasons, he's a stud. He's a game changer. As I said, in my opinion, he's a left-handed version of Drew Brees. Like, he's accurate, he's smart, he's meticulous, he's just exactly what you want. He's a very humble guy, too, big family guy. Like, you don't have to ever worry about him off the field. He's not going to get in a lot of trouble. And I think, you know, he's going to be able to withstand the environment down in South Beach. And I think that Tua is going to be the face of the franchise for the Miami Dolphins, and it makes a ton of sense to bring him there. So Tua Tagovailoa is going to go to the Miami Dolphins. So the Chargers are interesting because the Chargers could go a lot of ways. But to be honest, like, I think they're going to go Herbert. I mean, Phillip Rivers is going to, or has got released, and he's probably going to sign with the Colts or the Bucs. And, I mean, they could go with a guy like Teddy Bridgewater. That's something that's good too. But, I mean, you got a guy like Justin Herbert there, and he could be the guy for you. And so even though Isaiah Simmons is on the board and Derek Brown's on the board, both needs for the Chargers, I think you need to go. I think you need to go with the quarterback here. Even though he's not the highest rated player to me. Where the hell is he? 15, there we go. So even though Justin Herbert, I think this is high for Justin Herbert, even though I'm an actual Oregon fan as well, he just doesn't show up the way that you want him to in some big games. And he does have everything you want in terms of a build. Like, he's very strong, he's tall, he's smart, he can run. Like, it's what you want in your franchise quarterback, but it's whether or not he can put it together at the next level. And so, but I think just based on what the trends are going into the NFL draft right now, I think Justin Herbert is going to go in the top 5, let alone the top 6. So I have him going to the LA Chargers here. Plus, it feels a huge need after they let go of their basically Hall of Fame quarterback. So Justin Herbert's going there. So now we have the Carolina Panthers on the clock. I gave them Jeff Okudah last time, but since Jeff Okudah is now taken by the Detroit Lions, I have them going Derek Brown here. I like Isaiah Simmons a lot. As I said, he could also be the pick here, but the way that they struggled in the middle of that defense last year when K1 Short went down, like, that was pretty bad. Like, I've been looking at the stats. Like, they were bottom of the defense when it came to run and interior pressure once K1 Short went down. So basically, they need a guy like that in the middle. Like, when they had Star Lotulelei and K1 Shorts, they were amazing up front. And you got a young guy like Brian Burns, who you drafted last year out of Florida State. You need to really upgrade that front. And Brian Burns had a hell of a year for being a reserve player last year. He ended up getting, like, quite a bit of sacks. I think he ended up getting 8 sacks or something like that in a reserve role. Like, he could really have a breakout year this year. And so you get a guy like that, and you put a guy in the middle like Derek Brown, put him next to K1 Shorts, you really have a formidable front. And even though you lose Luke Kuechly to retirement, I think you can maybe grab like a Joe Schobert in free agency, or you can grab a middle linebacker in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds that can come in and play right away. And I mean, you still have Shaq Thompson there, so I mean, Isaiah Simmons would be nice there, but I think Derek Brown's going to be the pick. I think he feels a need, and he's a really good player. I have Isaiah Simmons a higher ranked player than Derek Brown in my big board, but Isaiah Simmons and Derek Brown are both studs, and I don't think you can go wrong with either here, so I'm going to give him Derek Brown from Auburn. Okay, so now we're on the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have been in a lot of talks about looking at the top-ranked guys. So Cliff Kingsbury has met with both CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy at the scouting combine already before they ran drills. But he's also made a comment that you can get an elite level guy in round 4 in terms of receivers. And so, like, when you think about that and you think whether or not they really fall in love with a guy like CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, it makes a lot of sense for them to go here. But also, you really need to protect Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray, even though he made a lot of sacks on his own, like he basically caused himself to get sacked a lot last year, I still think you need to upgrade that offensive line. You bring back DJ Humphries, which is really, really good. I still think you need to put another big body on that line. And I like Andrew Thomas a lot here. I mean, if they think Tristan Wirfs or Mekhi Becton will be the player, then sure. But I think Mekhi Becton is a strict left tackle, and DJ Humphries is their left tackle. Tristan Wirfs could be a right tackle, but I think he's going to be a left as well, maybe even a guard. Who knows? But I really like Andrew Thomas here. I'm quite high on Andrew Thomas, to be honest with you. I think Andrew Thomas is the second best tackle in the draft, and he's not that very much further behind than Jedrick Wills. I mean, everyone has their own rankings. Let's be honest, the top four are the top four, so it is what it is. So I got Andrew Thomas going to the Cardinals because I think they need to protect their first overall investment in Kyler Murray. So now here we are at Jacksonville at number 9, which is the first pick of 2 in the first round, and I have them grabbing Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons at number 9 would be an absolute dream for Jacksonville. They need their Telvin Smith replacement. Jacksonville has had a really tough time on their defense ever since being absolutely dominant a few years ago when they made the AFC Championship game with Blake fucking Bortles as their quarterback, out of all people. So you need to get back to that. When you lose Telvin Smith, you need to grab a guy very similar. I think Isaiah Simmons is a better version of Telvin Smith. He just is. You obviously could go many different directions here. I could see Javon Kinlaw as well. They're losing Marcel Darius. But Isaiah Simmons is a monster. You know what I mean? He's a freak. He's going to run so incredibly well and test so incredibly well at the combine that he could get pushed up into the top 5 just strictly based on his approach and how good he was. As I said, Isaiah Simmons is one of my favorite players in this draft. Jacksonville gets a stud. And so I have the Clemson linebacker going to Jacksonville. So now we got the Cleveland Browns on the clock. And the Cleveland Browns need a tackle. They need a tackle, and they need a tackle. They need offensive line help. Greg Robinson really didn't want to be a Cleveland Brown and decided to get caught with 155 pounds of weed at the Mexican border, and so he's probably going away to jail. So, I mean, I don't know if that was him getting set up or if he just really didn't want to re-sign with the Browns, but regardless, doesn't change the fact that the Browns need an offensive tackle. So the offensive tackle that I'm going to choose is Mekhi Becton. I do like Tristan Wirfs a lot, and he could definitely be the pick, but Mekhi Becton has, insane upside. And so Mekhi Becton's upside is why I'm going to take him here. He's a strict left tackle. He's an absolute mover. It really depends how he tests at the combine. If he runs really, really well for a 370-pound dude, 6'7" monster, he's just going to be a solid guy. He's been comped to Bryant McKinney, the tackle formerly for the Minnesota Vikings back in the day. It could be before many people started watching football, but he was a very solid tackle, which makes a lot of sense there. So I'm going to give him Mekhi Becton. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Browns, and we're going to go there and move on to the Jets pick. So the last time I had the Jets pick, I had them take Tristan Wirfs here, but it looks more and more like Robbie Anderson is not going to re-sign with the team, leaving them incredibly bare at wide receiver. They do need offensive line help, but I think they'll be fine, having Kelvin Beachum back there at offensive tackle. And, they could probably get a couple guys in the later rounds as well, but grabbing, your choice of the best receiver in the draft and just having your number one playmaker, for the next few years makes a lot of sense. Who has been the Jets' number one receiver that has really been wow, the Jets have a Pro Bowl receiver? I can't think of one. Maybe Santonio Holmes when he got traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but, the Jets have never really had a guy like that. Some people could say Robbie Anderson, but no, they've never really had a stud, and they need to get a stud, especially if you want to help out Sam Darnold, right? So, obviously, offensive tackle could help him out here too, but I think they're going to opt for the wide receiver because CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy are better prospects overall than Tristan Wirfs is, and so I have them going Jerry Jeudy here. So this has CeeDee Lamb ranked higher, but Jerry Jeudy is my highest rated wide receiver because of his insane route running ability, his insane body control, and his upside and his separation is next level. The way that he just crosses over motherfuckers, it's unbelievable how some of the stuff that this guy does on the field. And I'm a big fan of Jerry Jeudy. So get Jerry Jeudy in the gang green and call it a day. So the Raiders are going to take CeeDee Lamb because they need a receiver. I'm not going to spend too much time on the Raiders because it doesn't matter if it's going to be Henry Ruggs, it's going to be CeeDee Lamb, it's going to be Jerry Jeudy. The Raiders are grabbing a receiver with the number 1 pick. The only way that I could see them going elsewhere is if they really like Patrick Queen or they really like Kenneth Murray, they'll take him with the first pick, but I think that's stupid. I think they need to just wait for one of those guys to drop later, or maybe grab CJ Henderson later, and grab your guy. CeeDee Lamb makes a lot of sense for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's been rumors about Derek Carr being shipped off, but that's probably going to be for Brady. And if they like Jordan Love, they like Jordan Love. They like Jacob Eason, they like Jacob Eason. But let's be serious, CeeDee Lamb, he's a stud. Best after the run receiver in this draft. I think he's a taller version of a guy like Steve Smith. Like, Steve Smith was so strong for his size, and CeeDee Lamb is like pound for pound, like one of the strongest dudes in this draft. And so I really like CeeDee Lamb. So CeeDee Lamb is going to go to the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's the way she goes. So now we got the Colts on the clock. I'm going to stick with the same pick that I chose last time for the Colts and have him go Javon Kinlaw because I think that interior of the defensive line needs a lot of help. They've been very interested in the free agents such as Shelby Harris from the Denver Broncos and Chris Jones from the Chiefs. And so I think they're going to go in that direction, whether it's through the draft or whether it's through free agency. But Javon Kinlaw is literally a clone of Chris Jones. He's a monster. He directs people. He showed out the Senior Bowl. Not even going to have to work out in Indianapolis because he's rehabbing his knee, but he's a monster. And so I think they have a pressure like that to really push the pocket, get some sacks up there, and really make a difference because they can get a receiver later in the draft, get a big body guy because the next guy on their board right now for receiver is Henry Ruggs, clearly the third guy. But he's too much of the same for what they have. They have Paris Campbell, super speedy guy. They got T.Y. Hilton, super speedy guy, not very big. Henry Ruggs, kind of the same mold. And so you can't just have the same guy all the time. You need to grab a different kind of receiver there. So I got them going Javon Kinlaw because I think he's the best player available at this point. So now we got the Buccaneers. And so the Buccaneers could go quarterback here. There's been a lot of talk saying that Jacob Eason is going to be a Buccaneer by the end of the first round. But I'm not going to go that way because I don't think that's what they need to do. I think the Buccaneers really need to figure it out on their defense. Their defense was the 30th worst for pass and number 1 against the run. And so they got Shaquille Barrett, probably going to bring him back on the franchise tag. I'm not certain what they're going to do with Jason Pierre-Paul there. I think that the Buccaneers are going to go on the defensive side of the ball here. And I think they're going to go corner. And this is going to be an interesting pick. I don't know if Buccaneers fans are going to agree with me. But when you're 30th against the pass, someone needs to give. And sure, it doesn't really help when Jameis Winston turns the ball over 33 times in 1 year. But it is what it is. And I just think that's what you need, is that you need a corner. And so I got to go Christian Fulton here. I think Christian Fulton would be really good with Sean Murphy-Bunting, who they drafted last year, and I still think they need that. They could go safety as well, but I'm going to go Christian Fulton here. Oh, I accidentally gave the Broncos player here. All right, so we're back. So I got Denver on the clock now, and Denver needs a receiver. And so I think they're going to take Henry Ruggs. I'm not going to give too much analysis about this because Denver needs a receiver really badly. Tristan Wirfs is on the board, which they could totally go as well. As a Denver fan, I'd be okay with either one of those picks just because you can get a solid wide receiver later on, but you can also grab a solid player later on because we already have 2 tackles that we're paying decent money to. Like Garrett Bowles is still under a rookie contract, which negates what I just said, but basically we have him. He's been a holder. He's been one of the most penalized tackles, so we need we need an upgrade there. But we also just played Jawan James insane money, way too much money in my opinion. And as I said in my previous video, Cortland Sutton was the only really receiver on the team. The other guys didn't get over 300 yards. And when you don't have your receiving core go over 300 yards for the year, you need something else to happen. Sure, they traded Emmanuel Sanders away, but get a guy like Henry Ruggs, probably going to be one of the biggest nightmares to match up against in the whole draft, so get him in there. So now we got the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are letting go of Vic Beasley. They don't want him anymore, so basically they need some edge pressure. And they need some speed at edge too. So I got them going Caleb on Chase on. I think this is very simple here. They need edge. They need a few things on defense. Their defense wasn't particularly good last year. Raheem Morris did a hell of a job like upping up that defense at the last half of the year, but they're definitely talent depleted. And so getting a young, heavy upside guy like Caleb Von Chason makes a lot of sense for the Falcons. So I'm going to give him Caleb Von Chason here. So now we got the Dallas Cowboys, and it all depends on what the Dallas Cowboys do in free agency. If they retain Byron Jones, then I have them going safety. If they don't keep Byron Jones, I have them going corner. Simple as that. From what I've been reading about the Dallas Cowboys is that the Dallas Cowboys have been pretty intent on keeping all three players. They're going to probably franchise Dak. They're probably going to find a long-term deal for Amari Cooper, and then they're probably going to retain Byron Jones as well. So with all those players being kept, I'm going to give them the best safety in the draft, in my opinion, which is Xavier McKinney. I like Grant Delpit a lot as well, but I think he's just too bad. Like, he's just such a poor tackler. He's a poor tackler while McKinney can tackle. And I think McKinney is the best rounded safety in the draft just because Grant Delpit missed 1 in every 4 tackles last year, which is just dog shit. You can never have that as your last line of defense at the back. So having him there is no bueno. It's not what you want. So now we go to the Miami Dolphins at 18, and they got their quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, and now they need their offensive tackle. And you got Tristan Wirfs on the board. Who knows if Tristan Wirfs is actually going to fall, but he could go to Tampa at 14. But the Tampa Bay had the 4th or the 7th rated offensive line in the league last year. And their defense needs a lot more help than their offense does for sure. So, I mean, but in terms of the Miami Dolphins, they traded away Laramie Tunsil to the Texans last year. And to get a guy who can really upgrade that offense is really important, especially that line. One of the worst lines I've ever seen. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Miami Dolphins spent 2 to 3 picks in this draft on offensive line. So I got them going Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa here at number 18. And they'll address the edge later on in the draft. So now we got the Oakland Raiders. I guess it's Las Vegas Raiders. I'm gonna have a hard time saying that because like they've been Oakland forever. You know what I'm saying? They've been in Oakland for so long, and now they're going to Las Vegas and now it's just weird. Anyways, regardless, the Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock. We gave them CeeDee Lamb here with their 12th pick, and now they need a linebacker and they need a cornerback a lot. Last time I gave them C.J. Henderson, but I actually have them going Kenneth Murray here. I like Kenneth Murray as the number 1 linebacker. Patrick Queen is exceptional in coverage, but I think he's a little undersized. And Kenneth Murray is a bigger dude, and he is fearless, and he's been just a wrecking ball for Oklahoma. And I think they need some stability at the middle linebacker position. You know, they try to get Vontaze Burfict in there, but he just hits people in the head too often. So you got to get a guy like Kenneth Murray in there come and kind of solidify and lead that defense. I could see them going C.J. Henderson here too. Wouldn't surprise me. They need cornerback help, but getting a guy like Kenneth Murray to come in and immediately and stoke up that defense is what they want. So now we got the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock, and they're going to go, in my opinion, they're going to go C.J. Henderson here. They need corner. They traded away a corner for this pick, which is the Jalen Ramsey pick. They'll have the Rams pick next year as well for trading away Jalen Ramsey, but, you know, they need some help there. A.J. Boye is a cap casualty. He's going to be released, and so you need a guy to come in there and man up the guys in the AFC South. So I got them going C.J. Henderson here. I think he's a very good corner, and he's going to be very good for them. So I even have him as really as like a 1A, 1B with Christian Fulton. So C.J. Henderson at number 20 makes a lot of sense. On this, he's a 20th rated player. Makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to go C.J. Henderson here for the Jags. So here we go, the Eagles. The Eagles need a corner. The Eagles need a wide receiver. The Eagles need a corner and a wide receiver, and a wide receiver and a corner. They need skill positions all over the board, man. When you got a lot of uncertainty around the wide receiver position, that's priority number 1. Deshaun Jackson, hurt. Alshon Jeffrey, rumored to get traded, wants a new change of scenery. Nelson Aguilar not being retained. You got Mac Hollins and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. You need a playmaker there. So whoever it is, whether it's a guy, they want speed and Jalen Reagor, whether they want an absolute dynamite offensive weapon in Laviska Shenault, or they want a jump ball receiver in T. Higgins, who knows? But I have been going Laviska Shenault here because he's an offensive weapon all over the board, and I think that would be really good for Doug Peterson's offense. I think it'd be awesome for that. I can totally see them going other directions as well, but I like Laviska Shenault's a stud. I think he's going to test extremely well at the combine, and I think he's going to rise up draft boards. So I got them going Laviska Shenault here. So now we got the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills need a playmaker at wide receiver. You know, they also could go running back as well, but they drafted Devin Singletary, and Devin Singletary had a pretty good year last year for the limited time he was there when he wasn't hurt. But they need a big body wide receiver. John Brown is tiny. He's like 5'10". He's super fast, though. Cole Beasley's super quick, but he's not very big either. And Josh Allen isn't the most accurate quarterback. He needs a forgiving target. And so I'm going to give them a receiver here. And so when you look at Justin Jefferson, he's like 6'1". Jalen Reagor, 6 foot. T. Higgins, 6'4". KJ Hamler, 5'9". Brandon Ayuk, only 6 foot or 6'1". And so you got to go T. Higgins here. I like T. Higgins a lot. In this ranking, he's 36th overall. I have T. Higgins higher. I have him in the 20s. I think he really showed out the last few games of the year for Clemson. I think he's much better after the run than a lot of people anticipate. And he's a big guy who can go up and get it. And that's exactly what you need in Buffalo. You need to give Josh Allen a target that can go up and get it. And so that's who I have them going here. I got them going T. Higgins from Clemson. So now we got the Patriots on the board, and this is kind of unfair, man. I mean, like, the Patriots somehow always end up with the players that they want. Like, I'm going to give them AJ Epinesa here. Like, they could go wide receiver as well. They need some offensive weapons for if they want Tom Brady to return, but, like, they got Kyle Van Noy, he's going to be a free agent. Jamie Collins is going to be a free agent, and both of those guys are edge rushers. And so when you can have a guy like AJ Epinesa to come in and push the pocket, like, that's a stellar have at 23. I like AJ Epinesa a lot. Like, before the season, he was projected to go in the top 5, top 10 with this draft, and he didn't have the best year, but he's still like a stud. And so AJ Epinesa to the Patriots here. So now we got the Saints on the clock, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Saints. You got Drew Brees come back pretty much for 1 year. You got Taysom Hill there. Teddy Bridgewater is going to leave, and I think they need to go Jordan Love. I gave him this last time. I think Jordan Love could even go higher than this. Probably will go higher than this. But to have your quarterback of the future here, I think you need to take Jordan Love. I mean, like, obviously they need receiver, but Mike Thomas, I mean, he seems to be a one-man wrecking crew there. And so to grab the future quarterback would make a lot of sense there. I mean, they could use help on the defense as well, but, I mean, I think to grab a guy for 5 years like Jordan Love, the fifth-year option is a really big deal, man, for these teams. Like, to go back and grab a fifth-year guy, like, in the back end of the first round is super key. Like, it's happened with Teddy Bridgewater when the Minnesota Vikings traded up to get him. It happened the other year when the Baltimore Ravens jumped up to grab Lamar Jackson. Securing that fifth-year option on a rookie deal is financially, it makes a lot of financial sense. And so in order to do that, the same thing with the Saints, because like Drew Brees isn't going to last long, and who knows how safe taking Taysom Hill there is. You know what I'm saying? Like, Taysom Hill's almost 30 years old. So grabbing a guy like Jordan Love, who has an amazing skill trait, Sean Payton's going to be able to do a lot with him. So I got Jordan Love going to the Saints. So now we're on to the Vikings, and the Vikings are very interesting because they've had a lot of dilemmas with Stephon Diggs as of recently, and their defense is in a very interesting situation as well. So Everson Griffin recently opted out of his contract. Xavier Rhodes has a huge cap hit. He played very poorly last year. He's probably going to get cut as well. Anthony Harris might not resign because Minnesota doesn't have a lot of cap room. So I think it makes most sense for Minnesota to go cornerback here. I mean, like, Xavier Rhodes fell off that much. I mean, that really hurt them in their playoff chances, you know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for them to go Trayvon Diggs here from Alabama, but Jeff Gladney is my fourth best corner in this draft. I love Jeff Gladney. I think he's exceptional. He's going to run so well. He's a sticky cover guy. He's got some of the best feet in this draft. I love him. Trayvon Diggs might run in the 4.5s. Jeff Gladney will run in the 4.3s. And I think in order to like keep up with the elite receivers in this league, I think you need a guy like Jeff Gladney. He's a little slender, so he may got beat. But, I mean, Trayvon Diggs, on the other hand, is a lot longer. He's like 6'2". But I think Jeff Gladney is the better prospect. I like him a lot, so I'm going to give him the Minnesota Vikings at 25. So now we're here at 26th overall pick for the Miami Dolphins, their third first-round pick of the draft. I had them going Tristan Wirfs, and I had them going Tua Tagovailoa, and now, in my opinion, they need an edge rusher. And so it depends who they want, but in my opinion, I think Yetur Gross-Matos makes a lot of sense for the Miami Dolphins. Whether they like Julian Okwara or Curtis Weaver or whoever in the second tier of pass rushers, I like Yetur Gross-Matos. He's a very humble kid. He's very hungry. He's very focused. He's very long. He's got pretty good hand usage. I think he could come in there and make an immediate impact for the Dolphins. And they need a lot of things. They could go with a running back here as well, but as I said, there's a lot of really good running backs they can get in round 2, And I think a lot of teams have started to realize that running back is the most easy, or is the position that most easily transitions to the NFL in terms of success. Like, rookie running backs can come in nearly every year and blow up. Like Josh Jacobs last year, Alvin Kamara the other year, Christian McCaffrey. Like, pretty much all of the stud running backs had an amazing first year, just because it follows pretty much like the same thing in college. There's not really too much of a transition. You're the threat. Well, like in other positions, you have to adjust to the threats. So Yetur Gross-Matos is going to be my pick here. I like this a lot for the Dolphins, and it gives them some edge pressure. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Seahawks here. The Seahawks could go any which direction, but losing Jadeveon Clowney in free agency is a very large possibility. He's going to want Khalil Mack money, Aaron Donald money, and I don't think he's worth it. I mean, people could say that he is, but I just don't think he's worth it. He's not a consistent double-digit sack guy. He's elite against the run, which is completely opposite of what you thought he was going to be coming into the league. I mean, they're going to lose him. So they need help on that interior defensive line and the defensive line in general. And so they could go a guy like, I gave him Neville Gallimore last time, but I think they're going to go with Zach Bond here. I like Zach Bond a lot. I think he has extreme twitch abilities coming off the edge. They have Terrell Lewis rated higher here, but I like Zach Bond better as a prospect. And so I got them going Zach Bond from Wisconsin at the number 27 overall pick. So now we got the Baltimore Ravens on the clock. And so the Baltimore Ravens are interesting because they have a very stacked team, and a lot of people pegged them to go to the Super Bowl last year. And they got Lamar Jackson under contract for another 3 years at his rookie deal. And so basically what they need to do is they need to load up on pass rushers and offensive weapon and stuff like that. But they're pretty cap strapped, and so I think they really need to load up on the edge. Like they keep losing their guys. Like they lost Zadarius Smith, I believe, to the Green Bay Packers last year, and they're going to lose Matt Judon this year. But I think they're going to franchise tag Matt Judon. But regardless, they still need help there. And so one player that I really like a lot, if I can find him, because I've been having trouble finding him, Marlon Davidson, but I just can't seem to find him here. Here we go, Marlon Davidson. Like Marlon Davidson, I don't know why he's not even ranked here. He's a stud. He's an absolute monster off the edge. I also like Ross Blacklock a lot off the edge as well, and Julian Okwara, but I think Marlon Davidson is going to rise. Like, he has really good tape. He's an exceptional player, and I think he makes a lot of sense there for the Ravens. And so I have been going Marlon Davidson here from Auburn. Regardless of this rank, don't listen to this rank. They just obviously never marked him properly because he's a very good player. So now we're looking at Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to resign Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's going to have a pretty big market. And so if they don't resign Derrick Henry, I can see them going with Jonathan Taylor here or DeAndre Swift or J.K. Dobbins or somebody like that. But I think they're going to be able to retain their guy. And so I think the Tennessee Titans need a corner. Their corners are really struggling. Like Adoree Jackson, he's a pretty good corner. He's very fast. Logan Ryan is going to be lost in free agency, and I don't think he's that good anyways. Malcolm Butler hasn't had a very good year last year, and so they need somebody to lock down. And there's a pretty interesting slew of second-tier cornerbacks. So Trayvon Diggs makes a lot of sense here. But one cornerback that I really, really like is Cameron Dantzler from Mississippi State. I think he's got the length that you want at the position. I think he's very good with his hands. I think he will provide like an excellent physical cornerback. And so I think Cameron Dantzler is going to end up being a first-round talent. I like Jalen Johnson as well. Like Jalen Johnson barely got beat in college, but he's undergoing surgery. And so I don't know how that's going to work. And Trayvon Diggs might run a slow 40, so it'd be interesting. But like Noah Igbino Jean, I think his name is, he's going to run a very fast 40. AJ Terrell is a good corner, but he got beat in at LSU. But everybody got beat against LSU. Like, it's crazy. So I got to go Cameron Dantzler here because I think that's going to be who they want. So now we got the Packers. The Packers need wide receiver. They need a tight end as well. But they supposedly been in trade talks with Baltimore over Hayden Hurst. Same with the Patriots. I mean, the Green Bay Packers, they need a wide receiver. So I'm going to give them Jalen Reagor here from TCU. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. He's a monster. He's so fast. and I like him a lot. I like Brandon Ayuk a lot too, but Jalen Reagor is going to be my pick here to blow the just such a compliment to Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is like an over the middle guy, back shoulder fade guy, red zone threat, but Jalen Reagor is a burner, and I think that's what they need from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, biggest arm in the league, one of the biggest arms in the league. Get him a guy like Jalen Reagor, take the top off the defense, call it like that. All right, so now we have the San Francisco 49ers on the clock, and the San Francisco 49ers can go in a lot of different directions, but I mean, they pretty much had a solid offense last year. Like, they got a lot of speed on that offense. Their offensive line is really good. The running back situation, they can seemingly turn any fast running back into a stud, and so they need some help along that defense, and I think they need help in the secondary. I like Grant Delpit a lot here. They also could use a running back, or a linebacker, which make a lot of sense. But I like Grant Delpit here. I think he's good value here at the end of this first round. I think Grant Delpit's a better player than he showed this year. He must have been playing hurt or something like that. He was a little bitch when he was trying to tackle people. Like, he missed one every 4 tackles. It's true. Like, I like Grant Delpit as a player, but he just couldn't tackle anyone. When you have that many missed tackles, like, you don't deserve to be a top safety in this draft. But I think, like, if Grant Delpit can, like, figure that out, I think he's just going to be a stud there. And so I like Grant Delpit a lot, so that's what I'm going to give them here at 31 for the San Francisco 49ers. And the last pick of the first round, you got Kansas City. It could go a lot of directions. I like a running back here, but at the end of the day, like, I expect Kansas City to trade out. Kansas City has 5 picks in this draft total. Basically, all they need to do is just load up on defense, kind of surround what's going on with Patrick Mahomes and his contract. I mean, they don't have a lot of room, but I think they're going to go with probably the best player available. I'm not going to go any of these running backs. I think they're going to wait on a running back. I'm going to give them Patrick Queen. I like Patrick Queen a lot here, and I think Patrick Queen would be a very good addition to that defense already from what they're building on. I mean, like, coming in and the change that they had from this year to last year, or last year to this year in terms of their defense was very good, and I think to keep building on what they have, I think that makes a lot of sense, so I'm going to give them Patrick Queen here. So that's the end of my mock draft, round 1. I like to give some decent analysis for everything. As you could probably tell, I go through the lengths of these videos and stuff like that, but I don't want it to just be like, oh, I'm going to pick this guy just to pick this guy. I like to kind of explain things and make people understand my logic about why I choose to do certain things. And there's a lot of good players in this draft. I mean, a lot of players will go in the second round that deserve to be first-round talents. Like, this draft is very, very, very talented. And there's a lot of players that are getting pushed up that probably shouldn't be pushed up as high in the draft. And if you want to see videos on that kind of stuff, like players who I think are overrated, players who I think are underrated, let me know in the comment section below, because as I said, like, I like making draft analysis videos. I like making videos that are pretty much interesting, a little bit different, more kind of like pattern based, analysis based. And so if you want to see any of those videos, leave me in the comment section below and just let me know in the future video. But basically, that's it for this video. I really appreciate you guys following me, and let me know if you want to see any more videos like this or any more recommendations in the comment section below. And to support me, please hit that subscribe button. Please smash that like button. I really appreciate all of that. This is a lot of fun to make these videos for you, and I want to see if you appreciate it as well. So with that being said, man, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Peace.